Foil Campfire Meals by Prepper Chef.
Hi everybody, I'm Kevin the Prepper Chef. Today we're going to make foil packet meals. These are meals that you can use over an open fire. You can put them in a fireplace. You can put them in an oven if you wanted to, but they're good. You make them beforehand if you want. You can make them right before you put them in the fire. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up the vegetables we're going to use. So I'm going to use a potato. And potatoes take a little while to cook sometimes, so I'm going to cut them pretty thin. Not paper thin, but you know. Now I'm going to be cooking a hot dog, a hamburger. I have what is packaged as pork for stew meat. So it's just chunks of pork. So I'm gonna cook all three of those. I'm not gonna put potato with the hot dog just because the hot dog, as you know, most hot dogs are already pre-cooked, so it doesn't need nearly as much time to cook. So I'm not gonna put potatoes with that just because it may take too long for the potatoes to cook. And while I don't mind a burnt hot dog, I don't want an incinerated hot dog. All right, that should be enough. Now, I have the potato, put it to the side. I have an onion. I'm not gonna be using all the pork I have, and I'm definitely not gonna be using all the onion I have. So I'll stop there with that. Next thing I'm gonna cut is a pepper. Pepper is like the onion, good enough raw, tastes fine raw. So I'll probably put that with the hot dog, maybe with the pork also, for a little bit of extra flavor. But I'll probably only do half of this also. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do is get out my aluminum foil. I always try and get a little more than I think I'm gonna need. I'm gonna do my burger first. I'm gonna tell you, this was a frozen one that I decided just to take out of the freezer, thaw it out last night. I put some underneath, some on top. Potato, 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 potato. And maybe a little bit of pepper with it just for fun. Now when I'm doing this, I'm also gonna throw in a little bit of butter for a little more flavor. It'll help grease the foil a little bit. I'm gonna also add a little salt and pepper. If you want, you can add some onion powder. You can add some garlic powder. If you have no onion, onion powder would be a great thing to add to it. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And I'll be honest, I'm not a huge salt person per se. Plus, you can always add salt or pepper when you're done, but seasoning it while you're cooking it is also good too. So I'm gonna take it.
Now I fold it up from each side, and then I try and roll it down at least 2 times, more if you can. That way it helps to seal in the juices, it seals in the flavor. It won't dry out from all the juices leaking out while it's still in the fire. The juices from the hamburger, as well as from the vegetables, and not to mention the butter, should help keep it juicy, as long as we don't make a hole in the foil.
The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write what this is, because when it's in the fire, you won't know. So, H-burger, and do the hot dog. And like I said, hot dogs are already pre-cooked, so it's not a big deal for the hot dogs. But this way you still get to add more flavor to it. It's more fun. Plus, if you're out camping and you've got a kid and they want to cook over the fire, pretty much all they got to do is throw this in and then get some tongs to take it out. So I got my 2 hot dogs, and I'm going to cut them thinly And I'm going to be smart about it, not do it over the foil where I'll rip the foil. So what kind of things do you guys like to cook in the fire? I mean, there's always the s'mores, and I'll probably do some pie iron recipes sometime in the future. But what kind of things do you guys like cooking in the fire? And what's the weirdest thing you've ever cooked in the fire? All right, so I got my hot dogs, got some onion, got some pepper. I'm not putting potato on because the potato will take too long to cook compared to the pretty much already cooked hot dog. Smush this together a little bit, actually. Trying to figure out the best way to make this so I can fold it up well. That's the other thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing this. How will it fit in the foil, and will you be able to fold it well? And kind of triangling like you fold a flag. The ends of my foil to kind of keep everything in. And I'm gonna write hot dog on it. Actually, I'm gonna write H dog. All right, the next one is gonna be the pork. And I've got a big thing of pork here, but I'm not going to put all of it in. I'm just gonna put in some of it because that's probably enough for 4 meals, if not 5. So more foil. See, pork for stew meat is what it says. And it's a little bit fattier than some of the leaner cuts of pork you can buy in the store, but that doesn't matter when you're cooking it out here and just cooking it, especially for a fire. It doesn't matter. The worst comes to worst and it's too fatty, you can drain some of it. All right. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt and pepper on it now before I add the vegetables. I'm gonna take my onion, that one big piece. I'm gonna put that on the bottom. I'm gonna surround it with potato. Some onion on top. And the rest of my peppers. All right, now we'll see how well I can fold this. And see if I can take anything out or rearrange stuff. I mean, granted, it kind of rearranges itself. But I like to try and get at least 2 decent folds in to keep the juices in. And again, I triangle fold the ends at least a couple times, and then whatever to finish it off is fine. All right, now I'm gonna write pork on this. Hopefully, in the fire, we'll be able to tell which one is which. All right, so in a minute, we'll take it outside and throw it on the fire and see what it looks like. All right. All right, the fire's going okay. I got some coals. I didn't make it a huge fire because there's no real need for it. I'm gonna put the food on. Now I got a pair of tongs to pull these out. So the pork's going in first. There. It's right there. Then I'll take the hamburger. This over a little bit, squeeze it in right there, and the hot dog, which as we discussed earlier is kind of pre-cooked, I'm going to put it on the coals over here. Now I was thinking that while those are all cooking, and I've got a pair of tongs, a long pair of tongs to move them around, I'm going to use the extra pork I had. So what I'm going to do is take my frying pan. I've got a grate But right now I'm not going to use it. I'll just put it right there between those two. Heat it up for a minute. I'm using the rest of the pork, the onion, and the pepper to make some fajitas. Alright, put some olive oil on that. And if you use butter or some cooking spray, that's fine. One thing I didn't bring, which I'm going to have to go back in and get in a minute, is a pot holder for the pan. Because it's going to be very hot by the time it's done cooking. Alright. There's the food. Mix it up a little bit. I want the meat, of course, towards the bottom where it can get heated up better, because that needs to be cooked better than the peppers and the onions. All right, we'll give it a minute. I'm going to run back inside, get a pot holder. I'll be back in a minute. I went in, got a pot holder. Mix this up a little bit more. Of course, some of the food falls into the fire, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. All right, I'm gonna flip the hot dog around. I'm going to slide the fajitas over. Alright, let's see if that works right now for the fajitas. Alright, I'm going to let everything cook for a few more minutes and I'll check back in a little bit. So I just took my hot dog off the grill, and again, with it being pre-cooked, it is one of the easier ones, one of the quicker ones that will cook. I got a small hole in it. So, clearly the hot dog is done. The onions and peppers got a little bit burnt, which is very nice. Everything is nice and tender. This is a very good meal. Great for a kid, great for adults. Super quick and super safe if you're worried about the meat cooking all the way through. Alright, the fajitas are still going. They're mostly cooked. They're still a little pink in a couple of areas. But I'm going to check, I think, the hamburger first. So the hamburger, if you remember, we had some potatoes with it. I don't want to cut this open in case I need to put it back onto the grill. The juice you see there, that was from the hot dog, not from the hamburger. And of course, with the hamburgers, it depends on how well you like it cooked. I want to say this has been about 7 minutes it's been on. The potatoes are done. They look very nicely done. And the burger looks pretty done too. I might throw it back on just another minute or two to make absolutely certain. Or I can do the common sense thing and rip it open and see. Oh yeah, that's cooked all the way through. All right, that's done. That's enough. Yeah, some stuff that's pretty cooked. Tell me that where it's not going to cook as much. An important thing when you're cooking over a fire is that you're not going to very often get where it's evenly dispersed as far as heat goes. So you're going to have to keep checking it and move stuff around constantly. Alright, now let's see how the pork is. So, I'll remind you, I asked you earlier when I was making things, what kind of stuff do you guys like to cook on an open fire? I mean, s'mores is usually a given. Hot dogs are a given. Marshmallows are always a given. What other kind of things do you like cooking over an open fire? Alright, the potatoes, those are done. Pork, that's done too. That's beautiful white pork, the other white meat. So very nice. I'll put these to the side here while I finish the fajitas. This is done. It looks pretty nice. It's sizzling just like the Mexican restaurant when they make it. So I showed you a hot dog, pork, a hamburger, and surprise fajitas. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Kevin the Prepper Chef. Please like and subscribe.